Welcome, I'm Kriti Mehta and you're watching the World Report on News X World. Let's start with a check of the top headlines this hour. Trump says the US might launch a second military strike on Venezuela if the government doesn't cooperate. Venezuela's interim president Delcy Rodriguez creates a commission to seek the release of President Nicolas Maduro and his wife Celia Flores. The UN Security Council will meet after the United States attacked Venezuela and removed President Nicolas Maduro, a move the UN Secretary General warned could set a dangerous precedent. After military action in Venezuela, US President Donald Trump says he needs Greenland for national security. His claims draw criticism from Denmark. Donald Trump has warned Iran for a strong response if security forces escalate violence against protesters. South Korean President Lee Jae-myung to meet China's Xi Jinping today in Beijing, aiming to repair strained ties with Seoul's biggest trading partner. Ukraine military says one person killed so far in Russia's attack on Kyiv, says attack ongoing. New Zealand's health ministry is investigating a cybersecurity breach of a private website hosting medical records for about a third of the population. Let's start with the top focus story now. China has strongly opposed the United States' actions in Venezuela, condemning the forcible capture of Maduro and his wife. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi stated that no country should act as the world's policeman or an international judge. He emphasized the need to respect national sovereignty and uphold international law. Wang criticized the US for its unilateral approach, which he described as increasing unilateral bullying in the international landscape. Meanwhile, US President Donald Trump dismissed concerns that his actions would negatively impact US-China relations, arguing that the situation would actually help China access more oil from Venezuela. Let's listen in.
我们从不认为哪一个国家可以充当国际警察，我们也不认同哪一个国家可以自诩为国际法官。各国的主权和安全都应当受到国际法的充分保护。我们一贯反对在国际关系中使用威胁式武力，反对将一国的意志强加于别国。中方愿意同包括巴基斯坦在内的国际社会一道，坚定捍卫联合国宪章，坚守国际道义底线，坚持各国主权平等，共同来维护世界的和平发展，共同推动构建。
All right, joining me now in this discussion is Lieutenant Colonel retired Himanshi Singh. Thanks very much, Lieutenant Colonel Singh, for joining me in this discussion. Do you think now, with the actions that US has taken in Venezuela, it will also push China to take over Taiwan, despite all the resistance that has been coming in?
Thank you, Kriti, for having me over. Well, this is blatantly, I'll say, disrespect to a sovereignty of a country which we have seen, and abducting the president is something unprecedented. And what China is going to do now, I don't think it is going to attack Taiwan and do the same thing, because things are already escalated in the World Forum. And as we have heard the China foreign minister saying that no country should act as a policeman, and they're very right. It's a strategic warning. Beijing is signaling that any unilateral military invasion in Venezuela will not go uncontested, diplomatically, economically, or in terms of global alignment. But however, if you see, the Trump has also, made his statement in relationship with China, that it will not be impacted, because it is very deliberate de-escalation language, because it tells that Washington does not want to strain ties with China in the Venezuelan theater, because China controls a lot of exports toward America, and in between when they had stopped buying soya bean from America, American farmers had protested. So American interest in China and China's interest in America are non-negotiable. But when Venezuelan president had said that US wants the oil, it is not just about the oil. It is also about the gold. It is also about the minerals which are rich in Venezuela. So if we see the energy is a security to the forces, not just the economy. We know American economy is collapsing. However, America maintains the mightiest army in the world, and to run that army, it needs the oil. So oil is not just to fuel wars, it is also to fuel the Navy and the Air Force, logistic chains, and the strategic services. So I don't think China will go ahead with any invasion plans as of now in Taiwan. No build-up will happen, no coalition warfare will happen. However, we'll see a lot of increase in maritime monitoring, intelligence operations, sanctions as weapon, and regional pressures through partners. Again, this is not a cold war. It is a cold war for peace. So cold peace will prevail in the region. However, now what we see is a modern warfare which is silent, which is persistent and undeniable. So we need to have our guards up, because whatever is happening in the world is very alarming. UN is quiet because we know UN is just existing on paper. So nothing will come from their side, and it is shameful the way the president has been abducted and taken. However, this shows the American might, that it controls the energy of the world, it controls the choke point, it controls the supply chain, and it controls the world the way it wants. So now the biggest dictator in the world is America. And it is dictating not just the economy, but the political scenarios inside the sovereign countries, which is not good for the world order, and it set a wrong precedent in the world. So let's see how things unfold. But I, as of now, don't see anything militarily happening from China towards US.
Lieutenant Colonel Sirohi, would you say, Himanshi Singh, would you say that Trump really sees China as threat as far as its investments in Venezuela are concerned? Or do you think he's really not bothered by this time, at least, because he wants to run the country?
Kriti, Trump, no doubt he is a very, very powerful president, but we have to see that Chinese investment in Venezuela are no less. What President Trump had done in Venezuela was to please the oil producing companies of America, the people who had funded his elections, and they were the people who wanted him to come back to power, because a lot of losses were incurred when American companies were told to shut down their business in Venezuela and go out. Though the machinery has become very old and now we need time to fix the system. But Chinese interests are already there, they are running. So China is not going to take it lying down. It is very, very clear, because see why Venezuela matters, because it sits on the intersection of three things. First is energy, geography, and symbolism. So whosoever controls Venezuela in oil will influence the global prices, and it will weaken the adversaries and reassure the American allies. However, America knows that if it tinkers too much with China, China has the power to give it back to America. So the situation is very, very delicate, and both the countries will try and negotiate a way through. But the clash of interest in Venezuela is very, very high. So I think we need to watch it very, very closely, because international law is subordinate to the national interest. This is what America has shown to the world. So it has opened a Pandora's box. However, China is a very, very polished player in such matters. It watches.
Then why do you think it's maintained this strategic restraint up until now, whether it's in the Caribbean or whether it's even on the Taiwan question?
See, China is more focused on its economy. See, it is China is a Frankenstein giant which has created by America. America did not wanted to do this labor work in its own country, so it outsourced all the production to China. Now, all the pollution, all these labor problems are addressed by China in its own country, in its own way, but it has become a giant. It is again an economical superpower. See, there are three superpowers in the world. One is America, second is China, third is Russia. Rest all are powers, but they're not superpowers. But places where the oil is produced, whether it's Iraq, whether it is Russia, whether it is Venezuela, these countries definitely have their impact on the world economy. And why America is fighting? Because of the petrodollar. We all know that if the other countries start their business in any other country but for the dollar, American economy gets impacted. China is till now acting in restraint because it knows the implications are far too many, just the economics. So it also needs time because it is not just Venezuela, it is the interest in various other countries, which are the conflicting interest. So any wise diplomatic country will take time to react and first assess their own assets and how to go about it. It takes time in diplomacy because nobody had ever expected this will happen so soon, and nobody expected abduction of a president. See, we could have seen a war, but the way it has been done in the dramatic manner without much of bloodshed. So China wants to have its cards very close to its heart before opening and see how it is going to impact its interest in not just America, but the countries which are the allies of China. So let's see and watch how China reacts to this. It's not about condemning. Condemning can happen on paper, and condemning does not help any country to get its president back or have a stabilized situation. So China will monitor and it will come back, but in an economical fashion rather than military fashion.
All right. Thanks, Lieutenant Colonel Singh, for your opinion, but I request you to stay on with me as I move ahead. Now, viewers, let's also tell you that the United Nations Security Council is set to meet today after the U.S. attacked Venezuela and deposed longtime President Nicolas Maduro. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres said the operation sets a dangerous precedent and stresses the importance of respecting international law. Colombia, backed by Russia and China, requested the emergency council session. President Trump says Washington will run Venezuela for now until what he calls a safe and proper transition. Venezuela's UN ambassador calls the U.S. action a colonial war and accused Washington of violating the UN Charter. The U.S. insists this is not regime change but justice, citing Maduro's alleged narco-terrorism network. The move has sharply increased global tensions over the legality and future of Venezuela's government. I request retired Lieutenant Colonel Himanshi Singh to join me back in the discussion here. What do you think will happen now as far as the politics of Venezuela is concerned? Trump will definitely not allow for the interim president to act as the Venezuelan Supreme Court has mandated her to. What's next then? He says he wants to run the country, but my question is how?
See, it is this political coup which has been done by America without any coup is a dangerous thing. However, Machado had, the opposition leader, she had expressed her willingness to take over, which Trump very nicely denied, saying that she is not very popular leader and the vice president has been nominated and she has been also told by the court. But however, Trump will like to have a puppet head of the state as of now, because see, as far as the political suffocation is concerned, America is much capable of doing it. It has done economical suffocation of Venezuela, which has failed. So now, you know, if in case anybody sits on the chair is not willing to dance as per Trump's move, will not stay in power, and we will see more sanctions in case they don't listen. See, all the people in Venezuela, whether they are military leader or the political leader, they have condemned this action, but nobody has ever said they are going to take any military action because they have no power. So now, they will start saying things which are in favor of Trump because nobody wants to get on the wrong side of Trump and rub him there. So gradual re-entry of Western energy companies will happen in Venezuela. Then the oil output will stabilize, currency inflow will start, and social sector will remain underfunded because they don't want the civilians to rise to power. So economic relief in Venezuela will be conditional, and anybody who is going to dance to the US tunes after this military invasion of Venezuela will stay in power. So let's see, because America will still have their intelligence penetration in the political arena, which we had seen, because this coup had three facets to it. First of all, America CIA had actually bought the military generals of Venezuela and the opposition leaders of Venezuela. That is how this coup has been operated and executed. So let's see how it unfolds, but America will only have people who allow America to have maritime surveillance done in the Caribbean route. Proxy pressure will be put on Colombia and the regional partners. Cyber operations, which will target all these people in power who will come subsequently in power, they will be monitored. So military will be kept intact, but they will not allow to respond or react. They will be watched and divided and neutralized.
And
So
how
I think
effective do you
America
think will this meeting of the United Nations be? Would you not say it's now, like, well, you've already said it's only on the paper, the United Nations, and probably hijacked with the veto that's with the 5 permanent UN members.
Absolutely, Kriti. Your question is very valid. And see, UN has not been doing anything. We've seen so many wars happening for last 6 months. I'm not talking about the Russia-Ukraine war. I'm talking about the various conflicts which has happened in last few months.
Yeah.
And UN has not done anything very effectively. See, there are 5 countries which control the UNSC. But none of them, except condemning America's action, has done anything so far. And everyone is now worried about their economical interest, their political unrest, and the situation inside the country, and also the military things. So the world dynamic is changing. UN has become powerless. I think they should close down and put a lock on the door. It is just a paper tiger, and it is just a coalition of people who come and give their dialogues. Nothing else is happening except the photo operations. And in this case also, I don't think anything substantial will happen. America has done it earlier also. They did the same thing to Iraq. They did these things have been done to many countries which were never discussed. And this is not the first time which America has blatantly refused to respect the sovereignty of a country. And UN dances to the tune of America. That is very clear. So I don't think anything very fruitful will come out of these meetings. It is just a procedural thing which is going to be done. And thereafter, some, memorandums will come out, and some announcement will be made, but sanction will not be lifted on Venezuela. The president will not be returned. Trump will have their puppet government inside. So what is the point of having a conference and saying that we condemn it? We all know, we all want to condemn it, but nobody will have the might to stand and tell America this is blatantly wrong and don't do it, or you should apologize to Venezuelan people.
Lieutenant Colonel Singh, I think anybody will only want to tell Trump if he listens. The question is, will he listen? But for now, thank you very much, Lieutenant Colonel Singh, for joining me in this discussion. Pleasure to have you on our show. And with that, viewers, we're now going to proceed. Now, Russian Security Council Deputy Chairman Dmitry Medvedev has claimed that the real aim of US's operation in Venezuela is to gain control over the country's vast oil reserves and other fossil fuel resources. Medvedev added that Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro has accused the current US administration of pursuing economic interests rather than democratic principles. According to Medvedev, US is seeking to secure access to Venezuela's natural wealth at a time of global energy pressures. He added that US President Donald Trump has made no secret of his interest in Venezuela's oil, pointing to public statements of evidence. And now moving ahead, US President Donald Trump says that he does not believe a reported Ukrainian strike on Vladimir Putin's residence actually took place. Trump says something happened nearby, but it was not the alleged attack. Moscow claimed Kyiv used 91 long-range drones in the strike targeting Putin's residence in Russia's Novgorod. Russia said it would review its position in the ongoing talks with the US on ending the Ukraine war. Ukraine and Western countries have disrupted and disputed Moscow's account, saying the attack may not have happened as reported. All right, viewers, that is the situation as far as Russia and Ukraine are concerned. In the latest, Trump has said that he does not believe a reported strike on Ukrainian site on Putin's residence actually took place. Well, that's a big development that's coming in as far as the alleged strikes on Putin's residence is concerned. And remember, this is after Trump had spoken against the alleged strike that took place. Now the US president is saying that he doesn't believe that that strike actually even took place. Now joining me in this discussion is Dr. Gilbert Doctorow, who is a Russian affairs expert, and he joins us from Brussels. Thanks, Dr. Doctorow, for joining me in this discussion. Now, this is very interesting. Trump now saying he doesn't even believe those strikes actually happened at all. A clear U-turn from what he had said on the day of the alleged strikes.
I'm obliged to link this discussion with the dialogue you just had a couple of minutes ago with an expert on Latin American and Venezuelan affairs. A couple of days ago, one of your colleagues asked me to comment on the Venezuelan situation. This is, I think, just before the strike on Caracas that led to the kidnapping of Maduro. And I begged off. I said, this is not really my field of expertise. But regrettably, I can only answer your question with reference to Venezuela. The fact is that the CIA was deeply involved in the Venezuela operation. And I believe that Mr. Trump has flip-flopped on who and whether there was an attack on Putin's residence, because he is aware that probably the CIA, together with MI6, were involved in the attack on Putin's residence. Regrettably, the clear outcome of the kidnapping of Maduro is that the United States is, as the Russians have said, some Russians have said, like Mr. Medvedev, who you quoted a couple of minutes ago, that the United States is not capable of negotiating and keeping treaties. This is patently clear, and I will be stunned, amazed, if the Russians continue the farce of negotiations supervised by Trump to end the war in Ukraine.
All right. All right. Thank you then, Dr. Doctorow, for joining me in this discussion. And with that, viewers, we are now going to proceed. Now, Yemeni government forces have regained control of the key port city of Mukalla from UAE-backed separatists. Meanwhile, the Southern Transitional Council was forced to withdraw from Hadramout and Al-Mara after heavy bombardment, with many casualties reported and vehicles destroyed. Saudi-backed National Shield forces have been deployed across the city, securing key government institutions and provincial facilities. However, a diplomatic conference is planned in Riyadh to discuss the future of southern Yemen. Tension between Saudi Arabia and the UAE have intensified, highlighting the strategic importance of Yemen's southern provinces along global trade routes. Moving ahead now, North Korea's leader Kim Jong-un oversaw the test firing of supersonic missiles, marking Pyongyang's first ballistic missile test of the year. The missiles launched from near Pyongyang struck targets about 1,000 kilometers of the east coast, demonstrating the readiness of the country's nuclear forces and advanced war deterrent. The drill was cited as a response to a geopolitical crisis, with reports linking it to US strikes on Venezuela. Meanwhile, South Korea and Japan confirmed the missile launches by North Korea just hours before South Korean President Lee Jae-myung was set to meet Chinese President Xi Jinping in Beijing. Hypersonic missiles capable of maneuvering mid-flight at over 5 times the speed of sound, underscoring North Korea's growing military capabilities. That's all we have time for. Thanks for watching NewsX World. For all international news and updates.